Hello all, this is Chartered Accountant Omkar Gadgil. So we are now coming up with a video on discussion on the key issues and the practical aspects while filing of the GST annual returns in the form GSTR 9. Friends, in this particular video, we will be discussing table-wise analysis and also what points generally we follow while filing the GST annual returns. Although in some of the aspects there are school of thoughts, कोई बोलता है कि आपका GST returns वन GSTR 1 3B के साथ आपको एनुअल रिटर्न के मैचिंग जो करना है वो आपको ट्रांजैक्शनल बेसिस पे करना है, बुक्स के साथ करना है, एंड देर आर स्कूल ऑफ थॉट्स which do exist. Now, the most important thing what I feel has happened over the past few years or rather since the time we have been filing the annual returns, the most important thing which has been noticed is that there is a lack of consistency in the manner in which this GSTR 9 form is filed. And therefore, what exactly has happened is कि where you must have considered a particular data कि आपको रिपोर्ट करने का आपका जो इंटेंट है वो फिगर एक पर्टिकुलर टेबल में रिपोर्ट करने का इंटेंट है, दैट माइट हैव बीन वन, पर उसका जो परसेप्शन निकला या फिर उसका जो असेसमेंट्स के टाइम पे उसका जो मीनिंग निकला वो डिफरेंस की वजह से सडनली आपको शायद लाइबिलिटी भी आ गई होगी टैक्स पे करने को, and then you had to give those explanations, reconciliations and a lot of paperwork that might have taken place behind it. एंड यही रीजन है कि GSTR 9 फाइल करते वक्त इवन दो इट इज वी डू हैव दीज इंस्ट्रक्शंस एक्सेट्रा, फिर भी हमारे कुछ ना कुछ तौर तरीके उसमें चेंज होते हैं या फिर डिफर होते हैं, एंड we feel that there is a lack of appropriate or specific method, to be very honest, that there is a lack of a specific method to be followed, and therefore what we need to do is that एक consistent line हमको follow करना है, and basis that we have to justify in our client's case that in which particular areas why a particular figure has been filled and what was the rationale behind that. So on these lines, on in this background, basically I just wanted to discuss the practical aspects for each and every part of this GST annual return, that is GSTR form 9. In this video, we will be discussing only with respect to what is there in GSTR 9, and for 9C, we'll be uploading another video shortly. The purpose being that not every taxpayer is having this GSTR 9C as applicable. One of the very specific thing that I follow in the approach is that मेरा maximum reconciliation का जो काम है मैं GSTR 9 form में ही कर देता हूँ, because the form is editable to a larger extent and we try to get it aligned with books of accounts very much in this GST annual return form that is in GSTR 9. And therefore what happens is that मेरा जब GSTR 9 prepare हो जाता है, it is more likely giving me the reflection of my books of accounts, and therefore when I do the reconciliation of 9C, I don't really have much of the reconciliation items barring those exceptional ones, that is unbilled revenue, unadjusted advances, etc. So इसीलिए ये हमारा approach रहेगा while discussing the GST annual returns. So let's start from the first one. So financial year, as from now we are discussing it for the financial year 23-24. So the GSTN, now the legal name and trade name. Now friends, this particular aspect really differs. This legal name and trade name aspects really differs. Especially in the case अगर आप किसी प्रोप्राइटर का रिटर्न फाइल करते हो, अगर आप किसी प्रोप्राइटर का रिटर्न फाइल करते हो, ओनली देन दिस लीगल नेम एंड ट्रेड नेम विल ऑलवेज हैव सम और द अदर रोल टू प्ले, मीनिंग thereby this legal name and trade name will differ only in case of proprietor. So for example, somebody has a entity which is called as say XYZ Traders, okay, but the business is in the name of Mr. X. So the legal name is Mr. X but the trade name is XYZ Trader. So ये difference हो सकता है, ये proprietary case में ही हो सकता है. Although I am aware that now it has been 6-7 years कि हम लोग ये file कर रहे हैं annual returns, still this is one of the point that I feel which is relevant in discussion in the part number 1. Now we come to the first part, that is the table number 4. Now this form, I'm sure that you are able to see this form. It is a scanned version of GSTR 9 form that we are using, because in the public domain we are having, so this is something which I have got it from the bare text law, bare text book that we recently have taken, and therefore we are using a scanned image this time around. Okay, so if at all it is creating any issues, I will just ensure that we are using some tools which help you to understand if there are any lackings in it. So the part 2, that is the details of outward supplies, inward supplies made during the financial year. So what is mentioned in over here is the details of outward supplies, beg your pardon, the details of outward supplies, inward supplies made during the financial year. Now here what we are trying to understand is कि ये जो particular part है details of outward supplies during the year, this table number 4 is a auto populated table which comes from auto population of your cumulatively filed GSTR 9 returns. Now friends, सबसे important part, whenever you start filing GSTR 9, माई रिक्वेस्ट इज दैट व्हाट यू नीड टू डू फर्स्ट इज दैट पहले आप पोर्टल पे जाके जो ऑटो ड्राफ्ट रिटर्न आपका जीएसटीआर 9 का रेडी होके आता है, जिसमें नो चेंजेस आर देयर, आई मीन जिसमें देयर आर नो अदर नंबर्स अपार्ट फ्रॉम व्हाट हैज गॉट ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड, प्लीज डाउनलोड दैट रिटर्न वंस. Download the GSTR1 summary which is available there. Download the GSTR3B summary which is available there. Because these are the figures which are yardsticks which are going to be used throughout this form GSTR9, and therefore वो जो auto populated आया है उसको एक बार आपके पास डाउनलोड करो. सपोज आप ये डाउनलोड करना भूल भी जाते हो तो भी इन दैट केस यू विल बी हैविंग when you do it on the portal, you will be able to see something reflected over here as कि this is system auto populated or this is system calculated. तो वहां से भी आप उसको चेक कर सकते हो. सो यू स्टिल हैव, आई मीन यू स्टिल हैव अ ऑप्शन टू सी दैट वे. नाउ हियर व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड इज दैट when we particularly discuss this part, that is the GSTR 9 table number 4, this table 4 comes auto populated from GSTR 1 returns which have been filed through the years. Now friends, as we discussed, the auto populated data, even though it is there in table number 4 of GSTR 9, it is an editable table. It is an editable table, and therefore wherever you feel that the auto populated data that comes in over here, if you feel that this is not in accordance with what actually the books are reflecting, then आप उसमें क्या कर सकते हो, तो definitely you have an option or you have a choice to edit those numbers. Now for instance, that while filing the GSTR 1 returns during the year, कहीं पे B2B got recorded in B2C and something of that sort, मतलब ऐसा कोई एरर है जो आपको सिर्फ रेक्टिफाई करने का है, वहां पे आपका बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में इट इज गेटिंग रिफ्लेक्टेड प्रॉपरली, बट जीएसटीआर 1 वाज punched incorrectly. Only to that extent if you want to make any changes, and if you, let's say, have made any changes laterally, etc. But now since you want to get it in line with the books of accounts, so I am suggesting that we make those changes over here only, and accordingly आप ये जो data है उसको report करोगे. Now we are filing this GSTR 9 in the financial year 23-24. The reporting of table 4 segregatedly, that is 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, ये सब डेटा आपको इंडिविजुअली आइडेंटिफाई करके देना है. इस टेबल में कहीं पे भी क्लबिंग करके अंडर वन हेड आप कुछ भी करके रिपोर्ट कर दो, ऐसा अब परमिटेड नहीं है. So B2C, B2B, as I said, everything in this table is going, in this particular table is going to come auto populated, except for one important thing, that is 4G, which is advances supplied, rather this is inward supplies on which the tax is to be paid on reverse charge basis. Inward supplies on which the tax is to be paid on reverse charge basis. Now friends, why this will not come from GSTR 1? Because this is something that you report in the GSTR 3B returns. So these inward supplies on which the tax is to be paid on reverse charge basis, for this you will have to refer the GSTR 3B returns. यहाँ पे आपको GSTR 1 काम में नहीं आएगा, यहाँ पे आपको GSTR 3B जो है वो काम आएगा. So do remember this, that यहाँ पे which return is relevant for 4G data is, ये 4G will be completely dependent on what is coming from GSTR 3B, because that is the place from which you will get the RCM data that you have filed or that you have declared in the returns. Now this one addition which has happened in this financial year particularly, मतलब ये जो financial year 23-24 का annual return है, इस टेबल में ये ही एक एडिशन हुआ है जो सबसे बड़ा एडिशन है, दैट इज you are supposed to report the supplies on which the e-commerce operator is required to pay tax as under 9 subsection 5, including amendments if any in e-commerce operator to report this. Means what? Who is supposed to report this? Supplies on which e-commerce operator is required to pay tax under 9(5), including amendments if any, e-commerce operator to report. Means I am an e-commerce operator. Let's say that I am Ola entity, that is I am filing the return for ANI Technologies, which is the name of Ola company. So ANI Technologies का अगर टाइप का आप किसी का रिटर्न फाइल कर रहे हो, देन वहां पे आपको आपने जिनके बिहाफ पे 9 सबसेक्शन 5 में टैक्स पे किया रहेगा वो सब डेटा आपको यहाँ पे रिपोर्ट करना जरूरी है. So this is the change which has come in 23-24. This was not there in the earlier returns. If you see 4G तक ही होता था. 4G का जो 1 है, G dash, that is G dash 1 है. This is introduced in FY 23-24 for the first time, and this is what we are going to now report it separately. So please remember, this is something additional, this is something new. This was not there in the earlier returns. Till now हमारे पास ये नहीं था in the annual returns. So now what we are trying to understand is that what is to be, or I mean, what is the aspect to report this क्रेडिट नोट्स, डेबिट नोट्स, सप्लाईज, अमेंडमेंट्स. मीन्स पहले ऐसा था दैट जो 2019, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, इवन 2021 के रिटर्न्स में यू आर अलाउड टू नेट ऑफ दीज आउटवर्ड सप्लाईज एंड क्रेडिट नोट्स और डेबिट नोट्स, द अमेंडमेंट्स एक्सेट्रा, ऑल दोज विच वर देयर, वो आपको नेट ऑफ करके रिपोर्ट करना एज अ टर्नओवर अलाउड था. दैट ऑल हैज गॉन बैक इन 2021-22 से ही वो चले गया है, वो वैसे ही चले गया है. आपको क्रेडिट नोट का डेटा, डेबिट नोट्स का डेटा, अमेंडमेंट्स का जो आपने रिपोर्टिंग किया है, ये सब आपको हटाना है. Now friends, please remember this all data is based on the GSTR1 which was filed from April 23 to March 24. Means if in respect of any transaction you have done changes from April 24 to November 24, 30th November 24 as in to the October return तक, वो सब चीजें आपकी यहाँ पे ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड ऑब्वियसली नहीं आएंगी. अगर आपको बुक्स के साथ, एज वी सेड, आपको अगर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स के साथ इसको मैच करना है एंड यू आर श्योर ऑफ दैट वो चेंजेस आपने यहाँ पे अगर आपको से फॉर इंस्टेंस in GSTR1 there was some amendment that you've made subsequently and you want to get it added or considered over here. Now here please remember that we already have a table. In table number 10, 11, 12, 13 में हमारे पास टेबल है जहाँ पे आपको supplies which have been declared during the period April 24 to November 24 or ITC reduced, ITC availed, supplies reduced through the amendment, ये सब report करने के लिए we do have a space over there. So let's say that your original data which comes auto populated plus or minus the amendments which are there, अल्टीमेटली आपका टेबल नंबर 10, 11, 12, 13 के बाद जो टर्नओवर रिफ्लेक्ट होगा उसमें वो वैसे भी कवर होने वाला है. सो लेट्स सपोज that you had rupees 100 of a turnover which was there originally, and let's say that by mistake you reported only 85 rupees in the GSTR1 return. Amendment आपने किया but not during the year, you did it somewhere during April 24 to November 24. ऐसा amendment अगर आपने subsequently किया है तो वो 15 रुपए आप कहाँ पे दिखाओगे? तो in that table number 10 you will show that. If ultimately your total turnover is 85 here plus 15 there, which is matching with the 100 rupees is what there in your books of account. So eventually that is going to match, right? So friends, as I discussed in the beginning, it's not that now कि हम लोग GSTR 9 first time discuss कर रहे हैं. So मैं ये head wise discussion यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा avoid कर रहा हूँ just to get into the basic issues or critical issues. Now one more important aspect is about the credit notes. When you talk about the credit notes, debit notes, these are the credit notes which were reported during the period April 23 to March 24. These are the debit notes which are reported during April 23 to March 24, and these were the amendments which were reported actually during that period. Means if there is any transactional aspect which has been got missed out while reporting in GST returns also. Now इट इज स्लाइटली टफ दैट आपने क्रेडिट नोट ही मिस कर दिया या डेबिट नोट ही मिस कर दिया है, बट उसका इंपैक्ट दे दिया रहेगा. एज आई सेड, वो जो सप्लाइड डिक्लेयर्ड थ्रू अमेंडमेंट्स, रिड्यूस थ्रू अमेंडमेंट, दैट इज नेट ऑफ डेबिट और क्रेडिट नोट्स, वो वहीं पे आप अकोमोडेट उसको कर सकते हो. But please remember that this data is also crucial of credit notes and debit notes. Why? Because whenever the calculation is going to be done about your, let's say, any transaction of yours with your customer and yours for the purpose of, let's say, refund, etc., they match the GST returns in the data which has been reported by you in GSTR1, GSTR3B as well as GSTR9. सो जितना वो करेक्ट आपने फाइल किया रहेगा, अज्यूम कर रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पे भी उतना ही ये रिटर्न आपको करेक्टली फाइल करना जरूरी है. सो नाउ वी हैव दिस फिगर विच इज अवेलेबल विथ अस, दैट इज सप्लाईज एंड एडवांसेस ऑन विच द टैक्स इज टू बी पेड, दैट इज आफ्टर टेकिंग इनटू कंसिडरेशन ऑल दिस अबव. Now friends, one very important aspect which I would want to highlight is zero rated supplies with payment of tax. supplies to SEZ with payment of tax, and the deemed export which are made with payment of tax, means under the Form A transaction. This data is also required to be reported very correctly. Why? Now, even during the refund assessments or the refund scrutinies that happen, they check your GSTR 1 data, they check your GSTR 3B data, and they will also check your GSTR 9 data reflecting the turnover of exports, zero rated supply to SEZs, and deemed export transactions में आपका कोई है तो वो भी यहाँ से क्रॉस वेरीफाई होता है. And so it is necessary to remember that this data has to be also very accurately reported. The advances on which the tax has been paid but invoice is not issued, please remember this is talking about only those advances which are outstanding. Okay, only those advances which are outstanding as on 31st of March 2024. Means हम लोग को यहाँ पे क्या है that we are only required to take into consideration only those advances which were outstanding as on March 2024. There is no other advance amount that is going to be covered over here. मीन्स कोई ड्यूरिंग द ईयर आपको एडवांस मिला था, वो एडवांस एडजस्ट हो चुका है, तो वहां वो वाले एडवांस अमाउंट यहाँ पे नहीं आएंगे. प्योरली ओनली व्हाट इज आउटस्टैंडिंग एज ऑन मार्च 2024 विच हैज नॉट गॉट एडजस्टेड, दैट विल ओनली बी कवर्ड. So this is what we are reporting in table number 4. I believe that table number 4 के regarding जो भी ट्रांजैक्शनल एस्पेक्ट्स है वो हमने डिस्कस किए हैं. दो चेंजेस जो है वो भी मैंने आपको बताया है. We'll also take a quick look at what the instructions page has for us to offer. So table number 4 and table number 4 से ये जो instructions का part है, now the instructions are only making it clear that wherever the changes are made, they are continued as it is. One very important change in respect of the table number 4 is that wherever the declaration of turnover has been made. Now, for instance, in 4A, aggregate value of supplied maize to consumer which has been paid shall be declared here. These include supplies through e-commerce operators, वगैरह. Very importantly, table number 4 and table number 5 and table number 7. Table number 5 and table number 7, that is specifically telling you which would also cover. Sorry. Beg your pardon for this. So table number 5 and table number 7 along with the respective amendments in table number 9 and 10 in the form GSTR 1. Now they are also saying that if any lateral changes were made in GSTR 1 by filing GSTR 1A, ये GSTR 1A which had become effective in the year 2024 only, if there is any GSTR 1A also filed, means where you have tried to correct the reported data in GSTR 1 by filing a GSTR 1A, and if that data is also appearing over here, so then you have to take into consideration that जो 1A में आया है which has changed your GSTR 1 data, that will be appearing in this table number 4 in GSTR 9. So this is something which is now new in this form, which was never there in the earlier form since we did not have anything as GSTR 1A. So वहां पे जो हम लोग ने टेबल नंबर 4 में बात किया that primarily everything comes auto populated as per 1. If at all there is a GSTR 1A filed, that amount or that particular value will also be required to be taken into consideration, and जो आपके books के साथ शायद align होने चाहिए, which is what we are trying to understand here. Now friends, very importantly, that where the question is about the reporting of this aggregate values, aggregate value of credit notes, aggregate value of debit notes. Here, as I told earlier that we had a choice to report those by netting it off. वो choice अभी हमारे पास continue नहीं है. टेबल नंबर 4 में एक्सेप्शनली जो चेंज ध्यान में रखने जैसा है, जैसे एक है वो ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर का, आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एएनआई टेक्नोलॉजीज और ओला कंपनी. Second, I gave you an example, I gave you an input regarding this data which is flowing in from the GSTR 1A form, which is also very important because this 1A has come in only in this year, in this 24, financial year 23-24, but then later in the year 24 only, calendar year 24 only. So वहां पे अगर कुछ data आपने 1A में update किया तो that has to be a part of your auto populated data, and that will be there. So if you are trying to compare just the one data, so please remember this 1A is also something to be remembered, right? Now we go to the next table, that is discussion on the table number 5, that is outward supplies which are made on which the tax is not payable. Now here specifically we know that okay, we have these zero rated supplies without payment of tax, SEZ without payment of tax. Now this options to report the value net of amendments and credit note, debit notes. Here what the thing is that again, if you see that these are the supplies which are made through the electronic commerce operator, and 9 as per 9 subsection 5, even that has been added over here, which was not there earlier in this form. Secondly, those transactions of export, as I said, मतलब वहां पे भी मैंने आपको बोला कि जो टैक्स पेड बेस्ड एक्सपोर्ट्स है वहां पे भी आपको डेटा रिपोर्ट करना जरूरी है. लाइकवाइज इफ यू आर क्लेमिंग अ एक्यूमुलेटेड इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट बैलेंस का रिफंड, देन दिस जीरो रेटेड सप्लाई का वैल्यू, दिस एसईजेड सप्लाई विदाउट पेमेंट टैक्स का वैल्यू, ये भी इतना उतना ही इंपॉर्टेंट है आपको करेक्टली रिपोर्ट करना. ओके, और सप्लाईज ऑन विद द टैक्सेस टू बी पेड ऑन रिवर्स चार्ज बेसिस, दैट इज ऑल्सो इक्विवेलेंटली इंपॉर्टेंट. Yes, so you are, I mean, you need to understand that that is how we need to take into consideration that how this filing of returns will be impacting, or how this filing of returns will be impacting in what sense कि आपका यहाँ पे रिपोर्टिंग अगर गलत हो जाता है तो आपका रिफंड असेसमेंट्स के टाइम पे अननेसेसरली यू विल बी आस्क्ड टू गिव अनदर रिकंसिलेशंस और something like that, that will be also permitted. So I mean something that may also come across. तो इसलिए ये डेटा को क्लियरली रिपोर्ट करना या बराबर रिपोर्ट करना आपके लिए रिक्वायर्ड है, रेलेवेंट है. Yes. Now we will see that okay, if there is anything in the instructions that we need to really follow, or anything in the instructions that we need to take a look at. So हम लोग पहला वो देखते हैं. Now most before we go to the instruction, let us try to complete the remaining part of table 5. 1. The exempted supplies and the nil rated supplies, this can be clubbed together. मतलब इसका डेटा आपको अलग से रिपोर्ट करने का जरूरत नहीं बोलने से अच्छा, I'll say that it is allowed to report it in a single row. Means now exempted और nil rated में difference इतना ही है. Nil rated means जिसका tariff, GST tariff rate is nil, and exempted means those which are exempted by the virtue of exemption notifications issued. But when you are talking about non-GST supplies, this which also includes no supplies, this data is to be reported compulsorily separately. This was an instruction introduced back in 2021, I mean 22-23. ये कंटिन्यू है. नॉन जीएसटी सप्लाईज का डेटा आपको अलग से रिपोर्ट करना जरूरी है. सी द वन ऑफ द रीजन, आई विल नॉट से दैट द ओनली रीजन, वन ऑफ द रीजंस इज नॉन जीएसटी सप्लाईज का रेलेवेंस एंड एग्जम्प्टेड सप्लाईज का रेलेवेंस आपके रूल 42-43 रिवर्सल्स के लिए भी आता है. इन except for two of the categories, the rest of the non-GST supplies are to be ignored for while doing the reversals. That is what we know through the explanations to rule 42. And therefore you need to ensure that ये non-GST supplies, which includes no supplies, which includes transactions of sale of petrol, diesel, alcoholic liquor for human consumption, anything of that sorts, that will be considered as a part of here, which will be reported over here. एंड जो आपको सिर्फ डेटा एग्जाम के साथ क्लब नहीं करना है उसको अलग से रिपोर्ट करना है. क्रेडिट नोट, डेबिट नोट्स and supplies which are made through amendments, again these are the credit notes and debit notes in respect of these exempted supplies. Again these are the credit notes which are to be reported, which were reported historically, मतलब जो 23-24 के दौरान रिपोर्ट किए गए थे, हम यही क्रेडिट नोट्स के बारे में बात करते हैं. So we come to the explanations or instructions page in in relation to this GSTR 9 table number 5, right? Now here again, whatever in GSTR 1 form is there, and if there is a GSTR 1A also filed for this, for that particular period, then we need to take that into consideration. जैसे मैंने बोला कि कुछ महीनों के लिए, not for the entire 23-24, but wherever for whichever month you have used the GSTR 1A form, that data will also be updated accordingly, and over here that will be auto populated what you have finally filed over there. Now as I said that the nil rated and non GST supplies में आपको पहले जो segregated ये report करना compulsory नहीं था. non GST supply and no supply are to be reported separately. That is what is clear. The aggregate value of credit notes in respect of supplies declared in 5A to F and table 9B of GST, table 9B of GSTR 1 and 1A may be used for filing up these details. Now here what they are saying is that the taxpayer shall have an option to fill the table number 5A to 5F net of credit notes if there is any difficulty in reporting such data in the table. So this this is what they are only saying, that even this has been extended to financial year 23-24. this netting out का जो एस्पेक्ट है क्रेडिट नोट डेबिट नोट्स के साथ, ये आपको फिर भी परमिट किया है टेबल नंबर 5 के लिए. बट it is my honest suggestion that you have the data of credit note debit note separately. Please keep it reported separately, because during the scrutinies, during the GSTR, this whenever DRC01 is issued, DRC01A or ASMT10 is issued, audit is conducted. As much as your data is given segregatedly, वो ज़्यादा आपको assist करेगा, rather than clubbing it and then trying to find out a resolution out of that, or trying to find out trying to find out an answer to their queries, to the department's queries. And it is not that they are at fault, because if they are not able to see the corresponding data properly, then of course they are going to raise questions that, okay, is there anything wrong with your returns, or is there anything that you should have not filed the returns in a particular manner as you have actually filed. So ये सब एस्पेक्ट्स नहीं आने चाहिए आपके असेसमेंट्स के दौरान, इसीलिए आपको ये करना ज्यादा बेटर है, ऐसा हमारा सजेशन. Table number 6, friends, is the most important table in GSTR 9 as per my knowledge, because ये आपका input tax credit का eligibility define करता है. Now 6A is obviously going to be auto populated from your GSTR 3B, right? Very importantly, table number 6 को ये जो वैल्यू आपका आता है ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड, whatever comes auto populated, your job in GSTR 9 is only to break down that table in these number of fields. Means you are not supposed to claim any new or unclaimed input tax credit. Now here, unfortunately, that highlight I need to do, that this particular table has a heading, details of ITC availed during the financial year. Means this is something what was done during 23-24. एनी मिस्ड आउट थिंग्स एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा जो आपने सब्सिक्वेंटली भी किया है या आज तक नहीं किया है, आपको आज से अचानक क्रेडिट क्लेम करने का ऐसा लग रहा है दैट आई शुड डू दैट, प्लीज डू नॉट डू दिस. GSTR 9 is not a form to claim input tax credit freshly, which did not exist earlier. Okay, so that is something that we need to take into consideration, that ये आपका एस्पेक्ट जो है, दिस इज समथिंग कंप्लीटली दैट यू नीड टू रिमेंबर बाय योरसेल्फ, दैट दिस GSTR 9 टेबल नंबर 6 is the data which has come in table number 6A. इसको सिर्फ और सिर्फ रिक्लासिफाई करना है, no fresh reporting of credits. Now here, friends, in 6B, 6C, 6D, 6E for that matter, what is the most common thing and important thing, and something which has continued to be in the instructions table, is that the input tax credit in respect of capital goods, whether they are imported, whether they are domestically procured, whether they are procured in any way, capital goods के ऊपर का input tax credit claimed has to be reported separately. The input and input services quantum can be either clubbed under one head if you don't have the separate data available, but capital goods का for sure you have to report it separately. Okay. Now of course आपको fixed asset register से वगैरह भी ये सब data मिल सकता है, so there is nothing much to worry about that. It's just that this is how it is. Now friends, I'll always try to highlight one important point, is that okay, tran 1 data, even if today also you have some disputed tran 1 credits or tran 1 unclaimed credits etc, या फिर reclaimed credits that you would want, that you have done already through GSTR 3B, एंड अगर आपको पता है ये ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट का अमाउंट है, देन उसको रिपोर्ट अलग से करना उतना ही जरूरी है, उतना ही रेलेवेंट है. Now most importantly, this is the row which is to be used very carefully, that is table number 6M. Now I have a view or in regards to this, maybe आपको ये agree आप करोगे नहीं करोगे, this is up to you, but I have a very clear view. Table number 6M which says any other input tax credit availed but not specified above. What usually I do is that any input tax credit which has been claimed during 23-24, which is pertaining to the previous financial year 22-23, मीन्स जो भी हमने अप्रैल 23 से लेके 30 नवंबर 23 तक जो भी आईटीसी क्लेम किया था, जो कि FY 22-23 का आईटीसी था, वो हमारे GSTR 9 GSTR 3B में ही क्लेम किया था, राइट? द क्लेम फॉर्म इज 3B ओनली. 3B में वो डेटा आपका यहाँ पे अपियर हो रहा है, बट इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ सम क्रेडिट विच इज एक्चुअली पर्टेनिंग टू द अर्लियर फाइनेंशियल ईयर, दैट इज 22-23. that ITC amount we will report it in table number 6M. This is what I follow, and I'll also tell you the reason why we do this, why we follow this particular aspect. सो टेबल नंबर 6M में आपका कौन सा क्रेडिट आएगा? जो आईटीसी आपका FY 22-23 का था, जो आपने अप्रैल 23 टू नवंबर 23 में क्लेम किया रहेगा, वो आपका यहाँ पे आएगा, राइट? Now, what is table number 7 telling is that it is a input tax credit reversed and ineligible ITC for the financial year. Please remember, this table number 7 is not auto populated. The data in over here needs to be filled up by us. Data needs to be filled up by us. Now, you have option to report headwise, that is all the heads under for reversal. Let's say reversal for 180 days नॉन पेमेंट विद इन 180 डेज, या ISD रिवर्सल है, कॉमन ITC है, जो भी है, मतलब रूल 42-43, या आप उसको कंसोलिडेट भी करके यहाँ पे रिवर्स करके रिपोर्ट कर सकते हो. मेरे अगेन द सजेशन स्टेज दैट इफ यू हैव द डेटा सेपरेटली अवेलेबल, प्लीज फील फ्री टू रिपोर्ट इट सेपरेटली, बिकॉज ऑप्शनल मतलब अदर्स में आपने फुल फ्लेजेडली एक बार डाल दिया अमाउंट, तो उसको वापस एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए शायद आपको अलग से रिकंसिलेशन देना पड़ेगा. Now, very importantly, there is one row over here which says that ITC, I mean the details of input tax credit reversed and ineligible ITC. Now here, as per 17.5 is what they say. Now, firstly, I have a candid view, and maybe I mean I'm just humbling submitting it, that the reporting of the ineligible credits as first availed and then not claimed, or first availed and then reversed, I somehow don't really believe in that theory of working, because the law doesn't make it compulsory for you to report those. There is a express mention in the rule, or there is an express mention in the advisory issued by the GSTN. But I feel that something which is an ineligible credit, and if I have not claimed that credit at all, I have expensed it out, I have not reported it anywhere, then there cannot be a compulsion that I need to first show it in availment and then in reversal. But yes, there is a procedural requirement which now has been defined to that extent, which I legally do not agree to. एज पर 17.5 का जो अमाउंट यहाँ पे है इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट रिगार्डिंग, एज पर 17.5 का जो क्वांटम यहाँ पे, मतलब एज पर 17.5 का जो दिया हुआ है, फ्रेंड्स प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट यहाँ पे इफ यू पुट सम अमाउंट, इवेंचुअली ये जो टोटल लेता है, टोटल आईटीसी रिवर्स्ड, इट टेक्स अ सम टोटल ऑफ A to H. It takes a sum total of A to H. If you put something in ineligible but which was not availed by you at all, then unfortunately क्या हो जाता है, ये जो A to H का टोटल अमाउंट टू बी रिवर्स जो है वो यहाँ पे एड अप हो जाएगा, जिसमें आपका 17.5 का भी अमाउंट कवर हो जाता है. And effectively it reduces your net ITC available for utilization का figure. Now yes, I agree that this does not necessarily change your ITC eligibility, but यहाँ पे जो अमाउंट आया है, if this is after taking into consideration that ineligible credit जो कि आपने in first place claim ही नहीं किया है, then it is going to unnecessarily further reduce your ITC amount, and therefore try to avoid this. This is not something that should be done in my view. If at all you feel that आपको ये ineligible वाला amount दिखाना ही है, तो उसको artificially आप एक 6M में add कर सकते हो पहले, and then you maybe reverse it in 7 or rather in 7E. But unnecessarily there is no need to do that. This is what my view is. Otherwise you arithmetically if you want to match it, आप 6M में उसको add back करो, यहाँ पे आपको difference दिखेगा. In table number 6O you will see some difference, and also नीचे आपका जो arithmetically वो tally होगा, net ITC available for utilization आपको same दिखेगा. So point being that 17.5 का amount put up करना है या नहीं, this is something which you need to take a call on. In my view it is better not to do so. Now we go to table number 8, which is the ITC comparison. Now I am very sure that आपने जितना भी scrutiny, जितना भी notices face किया है, ये 8A 8B का मतलब firstly the scrutinies used to be in the initial period of scrutinies used to be कि आपका 1 and 3B का turnover match नहीं होता है, और 2A 3B के differences है. Then you started getting the notices that okay, table 8A of GSTR 9 में जो figure है versus what you have claimed in 8B, उसमें आपका difference है. So now table 8A. So this year again, what is the instruction amendment which is coming in is, यहाँ पे ITC as per not GSTR 2A. This is this form version is not something that is now going to be accepted. यहाँ पे in fact आपको जो भी data आएगा, that is going to come as per GSTR 2B data, which is reflected in your returns. So table 8A is going to give what is a cumulative GSTR 2B value for FY 23-24. ये आपका auto populate होके यहाँ पे यहाँ पे ऑटो पॉपुलेट होके आने वाला है. Now friends, यहाँ पे if you see the ITC as per 6B and 6H above. Now if you see what is there in 6B, 6B is talking about the inward supplies other than RCM transactions or imports, and 6H is going to tell you about the amount of ITC which was reclaimed under the act. Reclaiming technically is only in case 180 days के बाद आपने मतलब पहले पेमेंट नहीं किया इसलिए आपने रिवर्स किया था एंड देन रिक्लेम किया था. Explanation to proviso, I mean the proviso to second proviso to section 16 subsection 2. So those, I mean only that data is going to be over here, but 6B and 6H के साथ ही आपका टेबल नंबर 8 का कंपेयर हो रहा है डेटा. Now I would want to answer that particular point which earlier I said कि why I said that 6M में I want to put in the data of FY 22-23 because वो मेरे 3B में आया but that was not a credit pertaining to 23-24. And therefore when I take whatever data is there in 6B, that has to be absolutely of those purchases that I made in 23-24, so that वो जब यहाँ पे flow होगा in table number 8, when it is going to flow over here, it will compare with my 2B data of only that particular financial year. एंड सो देयरफॉर मेरा ये कहना है दैट 6M में आपको प्रीवियस ईयर का जो आईटीसी अवेल्ड है वो क्यों डालना चाहिए, सो दैट आप जब यहाँ पे ये 6B एंड 6H का कंपैरिजन करोगे विद द 2B डेटा, दैट हैज टू बी एब्सोल्युटली अबाउट दोज परचेसेस व्हिच वर मेड ड्यूरिंग FY 23-24. So I hope this is clear as far as this aspect is concerned. ITC on inward supplies where you have claimed the credit during the financial year 24-25 means April 24 से लेके 30th November 24 तक आपने जो ITC क्लेम किया है which is pertaining to 23-24, that data should come over here. Now friends, there is one more table which takes up this data, but यहाँ पे आप अगर देखते हो तो ITC on inward supplies other than imports and inward supplies liable to reverse charge received during the financial year availed in subsequent year. If I come for a second to table number 13, it talks about ITC for the previous financial year. Table number 13 can be equal to or more than table number 8C. Table number 13 because इसमें आपका फॉरवर्ड चार्ज वाले परचेसेस भी है, आरसीएम भी है, इंपोर्ट्स भी है. सो टेबल नंबर 13 कैन हैव अ ग्रेटर वैल्यू एज कंपेयर टू द टेबल नंबर 8C. बट अगर बाय मिस्टेक आपका 8C ये टेबल 13 से भी ज्यादा वैल्यू दिखा रहा है तो आपके रिटर्न में कुछ तो भी गड़बड़ है. दैट इज अ चेक पॉइंट दैट यू नीड टू रियली कीप इट. So once that is done, we reach the difference now of कितना भी आपने कोशिश किया रहेगा बहुत आइडियल रिटर्न्स को छोड़ के ये डिफरेंस आपका अगर डिफरेंस यहाँ पे बचता है दैट मीन्स A minus B plus C. If you have a negative difference, that means your ITC availed during the year and in the subsequent year during FY 24-25, that is more than what is there in 2B. Now see, there are a lot of possibilities. शायद वो किसी previous 2B का रिटर्न है, शायद आपका वेंडर ने रिटर्न फाइल ही नहीं किया है. Now in the light of the fact that section 16(2)(c) was amended, section 16(2)(c) was amended to say that the vendors who have filed their returns and who have filed their returns and reported, those data will only be accepted to be a credit etc etc. फिर भी ये जो positive difference अगर आता है, you may have to end up doing the reconciliation and showing that, because a lot of reports have come across that ये जो 2B का data reflect हो रहा है इसमें कुछ चीजें miss out हो जा रही है, या फिर there are some people who have reported the return, I mean reported the invoices of the FY 23-24 current period में, मतलब FY 24-5 में उन्होंने रिपोर्ट किया है within the permissible time limits. अब ऑफ कोर्स वो वाले इनवॉइसेस आपके यहाँ पे नहीं आने वाले ऑटो पॉपुलेट होके, तो वो डिफरेंस आपका रिकंसाइलेबल डिफरेंस है, उसका भी सिर्फ एक रिकंसिलेशन अगर पॉसिबल है तो अभी बना के रखिए. प्रैक्टिकली विद द रश ऑफ द रिटर्न्स इफ यू फील दैट इट इज नॉट सो, देन ऑफ कोर्स वंस यू कम हेड स्टार्ट अगेन फॉर जनवरी, आप ये डिफरेंस रिकंसिलेशन बना के रखना आपके लिए रेलेवेंट होगा, जरूरी होगा. बिकॉज if there is a difference which is a negative difference, for sure you are going to have a notice or a scrutiny sent across. If the difference is positive, means आपका ITC availed is less than what is there in 2B, then you need to reclassify that ITC not availed or it is ineligible for you. But of course this is only reclassification. Then the imports transaction का जो purchases है उसका auto populated data will come from 6E only, what you have reported over there, एंड उसके साथ आपको आपका एक्चुअल इंपोर्ट्स का डेटा यहाँ पे पुटअप करना है. देयर आइडियली शुड नॉट बी अ डिफरेंस, बट इफ देयर इज एनी डिफरेंस एंड इफ यू हैव नॉट अवेल्ड इट, यू नीड टू ओनली reclassify it over here. Now, friends, the last table, I mean, the second last table that we are going to discuss in GSTR 9 is table number 9, that is details of tax paid and declared in the returns. Very importantly, this is a table which has on the basis of the actual taxes paid. नाउ यहाँ पे ना ये पूरा टेबल जो टैक्स पेड का है ये आपका एडिटेबल टेबल है. बट प्लीज रिमेंबर, सिंस आपने जो टैक्स ऑलरेडी भर दिया है उसको आप वापस अभी चेंज नहीं कर सकते हो. इवन दो दिस टेबल इज एडिटेबल, please do not make any changes in this table because there cannot be a fresh payment of tax through this table. If you want to pay the tax, you report it in table number 14 15 में आप उधर 14 में मेंशन करके कि ये आपका ऑन फाइलिंग ऑफ 9 ये अमाउंट आया हुआ है वो पे कर दीजिए. नाउ लाइकवाइज और कहां पे हो सकता है कि समझो आपने टेबल नंबर मतलब टेबल नंबर 4 में आपको ऐसा कुछ लगा ओके दैट समथिंग हैज गॉट मिस्ड आउट टू बी रिपोर्टेड, B2C का कोई ट्रांजैक्शन मिस हो गया रिपोर्ट करना, आपने सब्सिक्वेंटली भी नहीं किया है, वो पर बुक्स में आपके था तो बुक्स में वहां पे टर्नओवर में उसको ऐड करो एंड क्यूमुलेटिवली जितना भी आपको लगता है कि शॉर्टफॉल ऑफ टैक्स पेमेंट है देन यू कैन मेंशन इट ओवर हियर इन डिफरेंशियल टैक्स पेड. नाउ आप बोलोगे यार यहाँ पे तो क्लियरली लिखा है दैट दिस इज डिफरेंशियल टैक्स पेड ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ डिक्लेरेशन इन 10 and 11 अबव. आई अग्री, बट अगर समझो मेरा ये भी हुआ है कि इवन इफ आई फॉरगॉटन टू डिक्लेयर इट इन 10 and 11 बट फिर भी मुझे रियलाइज होता है दैट मेरे बुक्स में कोई ट्रांजैक्शन है which I have missed out to pay tax in table number in GSTR 1 में मैंने रिपोर्ट नहीं किया, 3B में मैंने टैक्स नहीं भरा, even till 30th November I have not done so, then please ensure that you are doing it and you can add that amount over here. Although as a thumb rule this may not appear over here but this table can be used to report and disclose because इसके साथ eventually तो आपको DRC 03 या voluntary payment चलन से टैक्स पे करना ही पड़ेगा, but sooner the better so that you avoid interest. So we are recommending that you pay it through here. Please ensure table number 9 को आपको edit नहीं करना है. That is a historic table. No changes over here is going to directly make your liability paid. So don't make any changes in table number 9. This is what is our suggestion, of course. And the table number 5, I mean the part 5 which talks about particulars of transactions for financial year declared in the returns of next year. मतलब अभी अप्रैल 24 से लेके 30th नवंबर तक जो transactions आपने declare किए हैं, that is additions in supplies, reduction in supplies, reversal of input tax credit which is pertaining to FY 23-24 or availment of input tax credit as we discussed some time back of FY 23-24 for during the period April 24 to November 24. ये कोई भी ट्रांजैक्शंस आपने किए हैं ये आपको रिपोर्टेबल लग रहा है वो आप यहाँ पे रिपोर्ट कर सकते हैं. As I said, table number 14 can be a bit extensively used as well. So this is something what you can do. Particulars of demands and refund for this year also, this table has been kept optional. I am not referring to the instruction page since I have already written over here. This table is also optional. There's total refund claim, sanctioned, etc. etc. You may choose to give or not to give. Likewise, the data in relation to supplies received from composition taxpayers, deemed supplies under section 143 or goods sent on approval or return basis, this table is also optional as far as FY 23-24 is concerned. For the HSN summary on outward supplies, this is compulsory. Now, up to 1.5 crores, there is this HSN summary is not mandatory. 1.5 to 5 crores, we need to issue it up to 2 digit and 5 crores and above रहेगा turnover तो आपको 6 digit तक HSN summary देना है on outward supplies. Now, friends, generally your GSTR ones are going to reflect the same number over here. If at all your GSTR 1 summary is having some problems with HSN, maybe you put up the rectified figures out over here. Otherwise, it will be largely what is there in GSTR 1, वही आपका यहाँ पे repeat होने वाला है. Now, a couple of things that I just missed out in table number 4, which I wanted to bring to your notice. Now, what can happen is that there are some industries, real estate, there are industries like EPC contractors, in whose cases the turnover in the books and the turnover in GST return does not really match. The reason being that those industries have the measurement of revenue is on the basis of the accounting standards. So it is on the stage of completion basis or it is on the completion method, project completion method, etc. So वहां पे आपका वो and GST का values don't go hand in hand. GST का invoices जाता है construction के केस में भी on the time of supply basis. वहां पे it is on the basis of stage of completion basis. So there the revenue comparison really cannot happen on the basis of books of accounts. So barring these few industries, in the rest of the cases, you can follow this approach to go by the books. In those industries, we need to rely only on the GST data that you have, and then 9C में आपका उन cases में reconciliation थोड़ा ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता है या फिर आपका reconciliation detailed हो जाता है. So as far as the GSTR 9 is concerned, this and based on this HSN summary etc. is concerned, we primarily can come and conclude to say that our discussion on GSTR 9 and I mean the practical issues in GSTR 9 is now completed. I have tried to discuss only those aspects which have been problematic during the assessment, which have been found problematic during the assessments thus far that we have attended, and just tried to share my experience on this. Surely do put in your comments whenever this video, if you have any questions or any points to discuss. I'll be happy to discuss on YouTube on these and on this particular note. And as I also mentioned that we will be also issuing a GSTR 9C video, or rather uploading a GSTR 9C video very soon from now. Till then, for all those taxpayers, and now most importantly, before we forget, up to 2 crores of aggregate turnover, the GSTR 9 is not compulsory. About 2 crores up to 5 crores, GSTR 9 is compulsory, 9C is optional. Above 5 crores, GSTR 9C is compulsory as well as GSTR 9 is compulsory. But if you feel for any of the taxpayers, you need to report things in annual returns so that your monthly returns had some issues which you would want to rectify and present it in a better manner, it is better and advisable to file the GSTR 9, and if needed, those reconciliations in GSTR 9C also. So friends, thank you so much for this patient listening. I am on, I mean, I would really like to, quickly get on to the discussion of GSTR 9C, and soon we wish to upload that videos too. So thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Take care and Jai Hind.